Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
My mother taught me all about the word anticipation. She used to say, "Just wait till we get home." And then my mother also taught me about receiving. Oh boy, are you gonna get it from your dad when we get home? Yes, sirree, I remember the past. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a great big spring tire sale going on right now, including some of our fantastic advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service. They're locally owned and operated, 734-6969. And also, Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And we go across the river and through the woods, and let's see if we have a pledger for this morning. Good morning, pledger, if you're there.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir. Give us the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Zeb?
Yes, sir.
I would like to wish that Jerry Voss the very merriest of Christmases and Happy New Year's and happy birthday, Jerry.
Today is his day, Jerry Voss's birthday, and a very happy birthday to Jerry. Thank you very much for remembering.
Okie-dokie.
All right, sir. Thank you. Yep, Jerry Voss's birthday today, and he's one of our long-time listeners, and we really appreciate it. Hey, it's time for the weather forecast. We got to get that in, and I just wonder if he remembers what day it is. Good morning, pretty quick, to Michael Rogers, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Don't forget all your carpet, your flooring, kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home. At Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. And now here's Michael Rogers' weather.
He has not called in, sir.
Oh, boy. I wish somebody would have let me know. All right. Well, we'll just tell you that, how about it? Do you have any, Wheels, do you have any weather forecasts over there you can throw in?
I do.
All right. Go ahead and give us the weather real fast. Real fast.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is at the ranch. Started a brand spanking new week of you, me, and sunny weather all the way to Thursday. How about that? Temperatures lows make that upper 60s, low 70s. No major storms so far. We have rain in the forecast for Thursday. That's Thursday. So enjoy the Monday. Enjoy the weather. Someone let you go.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much. Michael called me yesterday. He says, "How come you're not on the air this morning?" And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I just got back from church." Church? Oh, he says, I thought today was Monday. Anyway, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. You stop in and see these great folks. And don't forget, May 1st is another girls' night out. And they're going to have all different craft lessons on how to build and make certain things. And don't forget, too, that on their carpet for the month of April, 30% off commercial carpet at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And also want to remind you about our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. I've got to run in there, as a matter of fact, tomorrow and pick up some clothes at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew. You know, one of the ideas they've had for a long time is those prepaid gift cards, and those are really a nice little gift to give somebody. Maybe when they're coming home like this spring from college or whatever, and they got a whole bag of clothes and all kinds of other things that need to be dry cleaned, you just give them that. They really appreciate that. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Absolutely the best cleaners in the universe. Don't forget that. And SafeLink Internet, also the number to call, 677-8000. Don't forget, SafeLink Internet, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. And the first month free plus free installation, and the price is starting as low as $24.95. And no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. You call them today. Tell them Zeb sent you. 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, serving you. Really good, folks. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is a subject that, to me, is just unbelievable. It's so unbelievable, and it's so tragic that a United States general gets on TV and says that the falling of Ramadi over in Iraq is not that important. Think about those words. Is not that important and is not that strategic. The United States soldiers, men and women, that fought for that country, lost their lives, lost their limbs, and came back home, in many cases, just completely out of sorts. And then giving Ramadi back to the bad guys, back to the very, very bad people, is a slap in the face to the parents of fallen soldiers, and they deserve an apology. This general, this attitude that's going on in this country right now with this administration, is absolutely pathetic. And I saw that on television, listened to that general, and I thought it would, I know, here you go, you're going to say, oh, you're preaching violence. I just wanted to reach out through the television screen and grab him by the necktie and just get his attention as to how pathetic and how stupid his remark was. Unbelievable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say thank you to our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they've got all your light bulbs. They've got every kind of light bulb, and they've got all your fluorescent lights. They've got the ballast. They've got the repair parts. They've got the wire, the fuses, the cords, everything for your heating or electric is right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And stop in and see them today and call ahead. They'll have their all the order waiting for you right there on the counter. 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you with warm winters and cool summers. Also, let's quickly talk about our friends over at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. My goodness, fishing. They've got a great big fishing department over there. They've got all your lures, all your bait. You can get your license there, and you can get a 10% discount card that's good for all your fishing gear all season. And the way I lose fishing gear in trees and everywhere else, I think I'm going to take advantage of that. And don't forget, coming up on May 5th, they're going to have a free kids growing seminar on how to grow plants and how to take care of plants. That's going to be from 4:30 to 6 right there at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And don't forget, too, all the 4-H'ers. You get a 10% discount all the way through the end of the fairs. They've got all your feed needs. They've got your equipment needs. They've got everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Sean, Mandy, and the whole crew are waiting to serve you at Valley Wide. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, there is just too many morning quarterbacks, armchair quarterbacks, and as far as this Middle East is concerned, because most of these people that are telling me how it's not important and everything like that have not even been there.
You know, Keith, you served in the military, did you not?
Yes.
And you were in, correct me if I'm wrong, the Navy, right?
Yes.
All right. How would you like it if they looked back and minimized your service and basically said that it wasn't important? And the parents of these men and women that fought for the taking of Ramadi to try to keep it free and try to keep it safe for the residents over there, and then for this general to say, well, it wasn't that strategic and it wasn't that important when they lost it back to the bad guys. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's absolutely one of the most heinous remarks I've ever heard.
I do too. You know, and this is so wrong, the way the military is being treated and has been treated. Like, for instance, when I was in the Navy, it was in 1958, we unexpectedly took on a bunch of supplies and everything into Philippine Islands and started steaming. And we did that for 60 days without going to port. Mm-hmm. And we knew nothing about why we were there or what we were doing. But afterwards, they called us the Indonesia Crisis, mm-hmm. which is now Vietnam.
Right. I agree with you, Keith, that the respect for our military, you know, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a veteran, a U.S. veteran, lady, that was arrested and banned from the campus of Valdosta State University in Georgia because students were stomping on the American flag, and she walked by and said, no, not on my watch, and she went over and grabbed the flag and took it away, and she was the one that got arrested.
You know, that just tore my heart out when I seen that, because to me the American flag is the most important symbol that we have.
I agree.
When I see the American flag, it doesn't matter whether then it's at or whether it's just ordinary. It makes me think of how great this country is.
Well, you know, the students, of course, as you realize, at Valdosta State University, they had, and I hate to say this, they had the right to protest and they had the right to do what they did. However, I believe this woman, this United States veteran, absolutely had every right to try to break it up. And quite frankly, I think that if there would have been a bunch of Marines, Air Force, Navy, Army, whatever, they probably would have done the same thing. But to arrest her and let these kids go, Keith, what kind of a country are we living in?
Yeah, you know, it's just like somebody getting beat up on the street and all these people are standing around and doing nothing. Yeah. You know, it is disgusting how people react to certain things.
Yeah, no kidding. You're spot on right there. The onlookers will stand there and do nothing, but somebody jumps in to help the victim of a perpetration of an assault, and possibly they will be the ones to get arrested.
You know, the one that really, really aggravates me is this Bill Ayers, who is a professor at a well-known university.
Yeah.
And all of these other people, like this horse guy or whatever it was in Colorado with the ponytail.
Oh, yeah.
It just, these students are watching this.
Yeah.
Just like your kids watch what your parents do.
Yep.
And then they do the very same thing. And that's what these people are. Heck, this guy can be a rebel rouser and go on to be a professor. I could too.
Well, I'm just really concerned as to the state of decay that's going on within this nation. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to mean it, because our moral values, our values in general, the way we accept our freedoms and honor this country have just been diminished.
Well, I think these guys that are what they call homegrown and are wanting to go to Syria, let's let them go.
Yeah, and then make sure that we don't ever let them back in.
I'm ever coming back to the United States again.
I agree. Keith, I got to do a commercial break. Thank you, my dear friend. God bless you.
You bet.
Have a good day. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If you're not aware, this week on Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And it's going to be a very special day because we're going to be celebrating Russell Smith's birthday. And we're going to have a whole bunch of giveaways from Walmart's, Miss Food King, and Handsome Mortuary. Stokes Food Center is donating a cake. It's going to be very festive. Come on by and say happy birthday to our hero, Russell Smith. Going to be a fantastic day at Denny's Restaurant this Thursday starting at 11:30. And you can stop into Denny's Restaurant anytime, all the time for the very best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they've got a new location in Twin Falls at 291 Pole Line Road, too. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Don't you miss it. Oh, by the way, too, I got to tell you that Berry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, Jerome, Twin Falls, and Burley, and they're looking for a couple of full-time technicians. You better believe it, to work out in their shop. So if you've got a resume, drop it off at Berry Equipment and Rental. You bet, Eli, Nick, the whole crew. Berry Equipment and Rental, they have all the equipment to get the job done right for you. And they just got in a whole truckload of M-Series Bobcat excavators, skid steer loaders, and compact track loaders. All of this and much, much more at Berry Equipment and Rental. Please stop in and see them. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental. Stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. When I listen to certain people on television that are trying to downplay the Muslim influence in the world today, and some of which say, well, there is no such thing as Islam fighting against Christianity. What is the matter with these people today that they can't understand? That radical Islam, and later on this morning, I'm going to have the author of the book, Iran's Final Solution for Israel, Andrew Bostom, is going to be on my program, and we're going to talk about this. But what is the matter that people can't understand that Islam is out to kill Christianity and the infidels? Now, you might be offended by that statement, but if you're not going to call it a holy war, please. What about the 2 groups of Christians in Ethiopia that were beheaded and shot for no other reason than they were Christians by ISIS? Butchery and inhumanity towards man. And here in the United States, this is what really bothers me this morning on this Monday morning. Here in the United States, we may go to our churches and we may be sitting in coffee shops. We might be at our offices right now and we go, oh, isn't that too bad about those Christians over in Ethiopia? Isn't it too bad? Yes, of course it's too bad. It's terrible. But we do nothing because that's over there. But the main goal of these absolutely barbarous people, these butchers, is to come here and do the same thing to us. And we sit back and we do nothing. From the top down, a total amateur administration with Obama And nobody seems to care or get it, that there is a whole group of people out there in the world that want to kill us and do away with our lifestyle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service at 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-2485. By the way, Scott's looking for some good help. Somebody with experience with sprinklers and tree trimming. And if you are the person that can fill the bill, give him a call at 438-2485. And by the way, too, if you're thinking about putting in a new sprinkler system or revamping the old one, call Scott Gano. Absolutely the best. So you give him a jingle, tell him I told you. 438-2485. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Absolutely the best. Hey, by the way, too, we'll take some more calls. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, a 21-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops. Speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stands, stimulating root growth and microbial activity. And also it saves on water, and that is a big saving to you. Penetron Soil Conditioner gives faster water infiltration to reduce runoff. Why don't you get the best? Absolutely the best. Penetron by Maisie. Increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. Talk to your crop advisor today. And also, you can talk to Dr. Adrian Arp at 734-2255 for additional information. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, it just turns my stomach when I see these news broadcasts showing the Christians getting their heads cut off.
Oh, my.
And it's almost daily anymore. And then we have a president and people in our government and people in our country that stand up and say, well, it's them Christians' fault. They're doing horrible damage to the Muslims. You know, you don't see any damage done by them.
Jerry, how could anybody... Wait a minute, Jerry, just a minute. How can anyone in their right mind, which says a lot of people are not in their right mind, put the blame on Christianity when these absolute vermin, these pond scum people with no morals, no values whatsoever, are doing such heinous acts against Christians, beheading them, shooting them, and our government stands by and doesn't hardly say a word?
It just turns my stomach when I see this. And, you know, a lot of them Christians that are doing horrible damage to the Muslims are 1 and 2 and 3 years old. It just absolutely is nothing but a lie campaign by these people. And why in the heck are we even putting up with it, let alone swallowing it?
I can't answer that question. I'm just so... I think we're becoming, Jerry, immune to the horrific aspects of the videos that are taken. I think we're becoming immune to the horror. And I sat there, and I'm not going to say anything that isn't true. It brought tears to my eyes when I thought of the families, when I thought of the absolute horror that these people are going through, and they're just because they're Christians, they're being killed. What kind of a world is this?
Well, it is absolutely insane to me, and I can't understand it at all. You know, most of these people are wonderful people just trying to make a living and get by and raise their families and carry on life as life should be carried on. And to me, why would we want to go out and just, you know, kill people inhumanely this way?
Yeah, Jerry, I got to run and do a break at the bottom of the hour. Before I do, I want to say happy birthday to you, my dear friend. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, and I thank Al, too, for calling in and remembering me. I'm surprised.
All right. God bless you, Jerry. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Hey, we got to take a break, and right now listen to the Capital Press Ag Minute. Following the Ag Minute, we're going to give away half dozen cinnamon rolls to Sophie's Chatterbox. Oh, don't miss that. It's going to be great. And right now, we want to remind you the Capital Press Ag Minute is brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology with Christine Pickup. Get a hearing screening today. today. Please call her and have your hearing checked out. She does an absolutely wonderful job, and we all need to know what the status of our hearing is, and she certainly can help at Mount Harrison Audiology. She knows all the latest in equipment, and she knows all the technology. She can give you the answers, and please remember that hearing loss is not a part of aging. I stress that. It's not a part of aging. So if you're noticing some hearing loss, stop in and have a hearing screening today. Call 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology. And right now, here is the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. While cattle prices are expected to soften in the last half of the year, average annual prices for feeder and fed cattle in 2015 are expected to be even higher than the record-breaking 2014. The U.S. cattle supply is still tight, and beef demand is strong, according to Jessica Sampson, ag economist with Livestock Marketing Information Center. Returns on cow-calf operations in 2014 were more than $500 per cow, and producers can expect another good year, she says. Cattle prices in the first quarter of 2015 were higher than the same period last year and are expected to peak in the first half of the year. The center forecasts prices to move slightly lower in the second half, with year-over-year declines, but no sharp drops. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
You know, more men than women have hearing problems, and I'm just suggesting, after I went over and had my hearing screening, absolutely a necessity to find out where you're at, and hearing loss is not good for anyone. So please check it out today. Call Christine Pickup at 312-0957 Mount Harrison Audiology. You will be so glad that you did. Right now, it is time. We're going to give away a half dozen delicious, huge, absolutely fantabulous cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. We've done this now for over a month, and they're open 6 to 6 weekdays, 6 to 2 on weekends, and they've got a fantastic bakery over there at Sophie's Chatterbox. And if you can answer this question, you will receive a half dozen of these cinnamon rolls, and all you have to do is call her and let her know when you're going to be in to pick them up at 436-0354. Here's the question today. This is an easy one. In the John Wayne movie called The Shootist, who played the doctor that gave John Wayne the bad news about his cancer? Who was the actor that played the doctor in the movie The Shootist? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Everybody wants to win a half a dozen of these delicious cinnamon rolls. And here's our first answer. Good morning, you're on the air.
Jim Stewart.
Have you won cinnamon rolls before?
Yes.
Well, you're not eligible.
Well, you told me I was a month ago.
All right, I tell you what, I will let you win the cinnamon rolls, but you got to share them with Jerry Voss for his birthday. That's the only fair way I'm going to do it.
If he can catch me, then he can have them.
No, I'm going to tell him you can't pick him up unless he goes with you.
Well, whatever happens, he's got to be there first.
Okay, but it was James Stewart, and you did win, Al Butler, but you got to share them. That's the rule on this.
I do. I share them with my wife.
No, Jerry Voss, get a hold of him. You've got half of those half dozen cinnamon rolls. Don't you argue.
You should have answered half the question.
What?
What? You should have answered half the question.
If you want to pay the bills on this program and run it your way, send me a check. We're going to do it this way. Give half to Jerry.
Just forget about it.
No, you won.
Just forget about it.
I'm gonna have Jerry camping at your doorstep.
Oh, well, whatever.
Okay, see you later. Thank you. Al Butler and Jerry Voss. There you go. That's the winner. It was James Stewart. Calls welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I want to talk to you a little bit about baseball. What? Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about baseball in just a minute. It's not what you think I'm going to talk about, so stand by. Don't forget Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. And Tim Vaughn stopped by our place the other morning, and we had a really, really nice visit. It was good to see him. You can call him on this number, 431-7314. Caller, I'll be right there. Hold on. For all the estimates. Now, Streamline Precision is a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services. And right now, they are really, really busy putting up a lot of on-the-farm grain bin storage. They're an authorized dealer for Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. And also, they've got the big equipment, you know, those side dump trucks for all your dirt hauling. And also, they've got the rigs for hauling your big farm rigs from one field to another. I'm telling you, they are good. Vast experience in industrial development, including dairies, feedlots, food processing, and multiple other agricultural applications. Give them a call, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. The professionals building for you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, it's sad that our state legislature in the nation in general is being coerced and extorted into supporting bills and so forth, like this child support thing that's basically doing away with our sovereignty, putting us under international tribunals and so forth. And it's just extortionate. It happens so much now, and we just give up a little more of our sovereignty, a little more of our independence to these international tribunals and international United Nations type treaties and so forth. So, you know, it's just really sad that we've reached this point. But the bottom line is that we really wouldn't have this problem if we hadn't gotten out of the United Nations, like I have, you know, and many others have been pushing for years.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Adrian, please. I'm short on time this morning, and I want to get right to the point. You mentioned about Iran and the Iranian president and about the United Nations, and I want to get your opinion on something. I was just absolutely livid last Friday when I heard that the Iranian president told our Congress to butt out of the nuclear deal and let things go through the progression he thought of with the United Nations. Told our Congress to butt out? I mean, my goodness, have we stooped that low?
Well, yeah, and see, they want to use the UN, of course. And for your listeners out there, if you're not aware, the United Nations was formed. The whole leadership of the United Nations was communist. It's been a communist organization, or at least a extreme socialist organization from day one. Where's the United Nations protecting the Christians that are being slaughtered as we speak?
Excellent point. Excellent point.
This is the point, yeah. And so our state legislatures, 9 out of the 17, and the State Affairs Committee, they're getting hammered right now by the press, and I heard it on the 10 o'clock news again last night. We got to pass this bill, and they're supporting the Constitution, and they're upholding their oaths. The rest of them are saying, well, we better knuckle under and go ahead and sign this treaty, even though it's going to do away with our sovereignty, because it's all about the money and the extortion. Actually, if we had an attorney general that was doing his job, he'd counter-sue and say, look, you can't withhold those funds just because we don't sign this treaty.
Well, I look at this entire situation, and we're being led by the nose, literally, by the Iranian president over this situation, telling our Congress to butt out of the nuclear deal. This person is telling our government how to run our government. What they should have done in this situation, and I want to stay with this Iranian problem for just a minute,
sure.
Adrian. They should have told the Iranian president, okay, you want to play hardball? We are going to increase the sanctions against your country so that you'll be coming to us on your knees begging, and turning loose those American prisoners, and then we'll discuss about a nuclear deal and a treaty. But nothing like this is being done. We're letting them dictate to us.
Well, it's our leadership. You know, you have to look at who's running the show at the White House. You know, Valerie Jarrett. I mean, she was born in Iran, so you figure out the rest of it. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that whole deal out.
Absolutely.
And so this is, you know, and that's where Congress is. You know, even the liberal Democrats are starting to see through this facade out of the White House, and everybody's saying, well, why is the president acting like this, and so forth. I mean, their agenda is to destroy this country one way or another, and believe me, folks, they're doing it unless we stand up and support these legislators right now that are standing up for the Constitution, keeping their oaths. The rest of them are sitting back and saying, well, I guess we got to capitulate. And so, but I see some good things happening, and people, we just need to give them the support that they need.
I agree.
And,
I agree. I got to run and do a commercial break, but you know, there's so much of that word that you just said a moment ago, capitulation, and we're just bending over backward trying to appease our enemies, almost like, oh, please don't hit us. We won't do any more things to make you upset.
No, I know. It is unbelievable.
All right, Adrian.
Spineless jellyfish back there in Washington, and their legislature, too, for that matter. So anyway, have a great day.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Honestly, I couldn't believe. I could not believe when the president of Iran said, hey, Congress, United States Congress, butt out of the nuclear deal. What? The Congress is our representation. The Congress is our voice of we the people. And basically telling we the people, us, to not know what's going on from this Iranian camel jockey. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Unbelievable. Hey, by the way, don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. These are the best folks you could ever work with, and I mean that. Headed up by Nick Greenwell, grew up in Oakley, Idaho, joined and served the United States Air Force for 4 years, and I'll tell you what, he knows all about health education, and he's got a master's in physical therapy from Idaho State University. These are the kind of people that work there helping you with all the efforts to help you get back to being you. Great exercises, sports medicine, hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill in the bottom of the pool. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I am high on these folks. They do a wonderful job. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. You know, I know this is off the world affairs track a little bit, but I think in some respects it also is significant because it shows that we're becoming such a wussy nation. Honestly, a wussy nation. And I'm going to bring this up, and a lot of people might say, oh, Zeb, come on. The Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals had a 3-game series this weekend, and it was a wild weekend. And the brouhaha started because there was a very hard slide into second base to break up a double play. Now, this has been going on since baseball started. I don't care who you're going to talk about in the old days. It's been going on with the old pros into the modern generation. Break up the double play. Well, okay, some altercations started from that breakup of the double play, and they continued all weekend with some pitchers that decided to hit some members of the opposing team and vice versa. Fisticuffs broke out. Okay, big deal. But now I'm hearing, and this really bothers me because it's significant about sports and life and America. You know, if you don't want to play the game and you can't take it, the toughness of it, whether it's football, whether it's ice hockey, or whether it's baseball, doesn't make any difference. If you can't stand the toughness that it takes to play the game, go play chess. You know, they make such a big to-do. Oh, that pitch was a little high and inside. You're out of here. You know what? In high school I went to, there were a lot. We learned how to throw up tight and inside to back them off the plate. And, quite frankly, in some cases, get a little dirt on the rear end of their butts. But, you know, to say, oh, we got to have a new rule. There's been people since this weekend's games with the Royals and the A's, oh, we got to change the rules. We got to make it tougher where they can't do that, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of wussies are we raising in this country? I look at baseball, and I look at football and other contact sports as something that the way this country is going, we have developed a very, very wussy personality, pansy personality. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence, and stay with me just 60 seconds. I got to get the weather on real fast. I promise I'll hurry. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric. They can save you money on Lennox. 678-0459. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is down at the ranch. Stunner brand spanking new week of you, me, and sunny weather all the way to Thursday. How about that? Temperatures lows make that upper 60s, low 70s. No major storms so far. We have rain in the forecast Thursday. That's Thursday. So enjoy the Monday. Enjoy the winters. What do you got?
Hey, Michael, thank you. Brought to you by Lennox. And, of course, their home comfort systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they're at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
What's up? This is a little different subject, if that's all right. Did you already speak about the Valdosta State incident?
Yes, I did earlier, and no, I'm not going to change the subject right now. I was talking about the Oakland... No, just a minute. I did talk about what happened at Valdosta State University, and about the United States veteran, a lady that found herself arrested and banned from the campus from now on because she tried to take a American flag that was being stomped on. And I said, and I'll say it again for everybody to listen, I think it's absolutely criminal that people that are trying to stand up for this country and the flag, they're the ones that are arrested, and the bad guys continue to act stupid.
Well, you're right. Here they want to mistreat a veteran who has all the courage in the world to go out and fight for the country and do what is right. And then, we don't want it to football players. You see, it's so inconsistent with reality and logic, but that's how these people are off their rockers, and until we force them somehow if they keep getting away with it, they're going to continue to shove it down our throat.
Randy, I'm kind of glad you brought up Valdosta again, because it does somewhat dovetail into this other story. But did you ever play sports in high school, college, or anything?
Well, I used to play basketball.
All right. But now
I used to want to play it like football.
All right. Well, now let's just talk about this quickly and give me a short answer. I stand up and I will say that there is a softening, there is a lessening, and quite frankly, there's a wussifying of sports in this country that I think also is indicative of the attitude of the American government of wussying up the United States and the policies across the sea to other nations. Would you agree with that? I think it's all kind of a perpetrated plan.
Certainly it is. Yes. We have to feminize the men, or, the men of America are either feminized or acted like they're stupid.
Yeah. I agree. And I think and people say, well, you're talking about sports on the one hand, and you're talking about government and how they do things around the world on the other. But you know what? It's all a perpetrated plot, I think, to make us less than we are, not as tough, not good leaders, etc. I absolutely think there's a correlation.
Oh, it's definitely no question about it. This guy that retired last year, well, he played last year at 49ers, and then he's retired this year. I noticed he had some notoriety there for a while, publicity, but he has since fizzled away, and now all they can talk about is the draft.
Yeah.
So I think in some cases, the NFL draft, let's look at March Madness and how hard those men fought to win those games.
Yeah, and I got another thing to talk about March Madness in Kentucky, and especially Kentucky, with 7 of their team going pro. And personally, this might not agree with you. I think it's absolutely a heinous act to use college for nothing more than a springboard to leave after 1 year, one and done, and then go to the NBA. And I think if that's the case, not to give these kids scholarships. If they're going to cheat college and cheat the coaching and recruiting staffs, I think they should be banned. I just thought that was terrible.
Well, you know what? In these situations where these blue chippers think that they are above something, it's irritating. And you're right. And that's the reason why I was rooting for the
Wisconsin Badgers.
I guess you might say.
Yep.
Nice for Wisconsin.
Yep. They stayed there until their senior year together as a unit, and they showed not only unity, but they showed common sense and decency. And as far as Kentucky is concerned, I'm never going to be a fan of that school again. Randy, I got to go. Thanks much.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Appreciate it, buddy. Hey, I tell you what, this one and done is absolutely ridiculous. And I'll just quickly give you a comment that Senator Claire McCaskill of, I think, is Claire from Missouri or Maine? I'm trying to remember. I think she's from Missouri, yes. She had a comment on the sports page of USA Today, and I'm going to read that quickly. Hold on, caller. I'll be right there. She said, quote, "I've got no problem with these kids going to the NBA, but let's not call them students because we're now recruiting these kids for an NBA tryout, not to go to college." I think one and done is not good for college basketball, and I totally agree with her. Hey, don't forget, Minnecasia Sales sponsors Dr. History, and we have a special hour-long Dr. History tomorrow morning, as Dr. History is going to be back talking about his trip to China. Don't miss that tomorrow at 10:06, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. Zach, Joanne, the whole crew, all your lumber, all your shingles, all your windows, everything, including all the Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment. They've got it all over there, right across from the airport. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. It's amazing to me that Barack Obama is allowed to dismantle this country one piece at a time, and in Washington, D.C., it seems like it's just business as usual.
You know, I'm glad to hear you say what you said, Tony, because I really took a lot of notes on what's going on in the news this weekend, and like you said, one brick at a time or one whatever at a time, this country is falling lower and lower into the abyss of a third-rate, third-world country, and it's all because of a complete fiasco of leadership.
Well, that's right, and I think both parties are guilty of allowing this to happen. This guy should have been thrown out of office a long time ago, but he's in there like he's stuck with super glue.
Yeah. Well, that's a joke I could follow up on, but I can't on the air.
Okay.
Anyway, I will say this, but you know something, Tony? It's not just him. It's not just his administration, and it's not just his party. It's also the other side of the aisle. It's the Republicans that are as much fault. They're more concerned about getting reelected and maintaining their seat than they are standing up and doing something about the problem.
Absolutely. You're right on about that, Zeb. It's just plain greed on their part to allow this country to go to pieces.
Absolutely. Tony, good to hear from you. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Okay, bud. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
By the way, there are over 30,000 people. This is unbelievable. 30,000 people that are running in this year's Boston Marathon. Started this morning early. And I really do mean this. I said a prayer earlier, and I will maintain that I hope and pray that each and every person is safe today running the Boston Marathon. And many are running with a purpose, and many are running with a remembrance of what happened. And I just absolutely say kudos to each and every person for having the nerve and the desire to compete in the Boston Marathon today. God bless all of you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget a great big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. They've got all the great tires on sale, like the passenger car tire, the Ultra Z900. Ooh, all-season design. Up to an 80,000-mile warranty on that tire, depending on the size. Oh, my goodness. Best tire value promise in the industry, and convenient credit for tires and services. I'll tell you what, you stop in to any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and you're going to be amazed with the service, and you're going to be so happy with the safety and security of driving on tires that are going to get the job done for you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Oh, my. Look out. They're backing up. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, there's a new book coming out. I got to say this real quick. And I'm going to try to get the author on this program. And it's called Clinton Cash. And it's going to reveal the money trail to the Clintons for the last 15 years. Millions and millions of dollars given to the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons personally by foreign countries and donors. And I think it's going to be a sticky wicket for Hillary. Caller, I've got exactly 1 minute. Fast. Go ahead, please.
How you doing, Zeb?
Good. Fast. Go.
Okay, I just wanted to comment, about the Kentucky thing. The one and out is upsetting, but what's more upsetting to me is what the one Kentucky player said about the big, tall kid from Wisconsin after the game.
Yeah, that was a very disconcerting comment, and I'll guarantee you he was talking about Frank Kaminsky, and this black basketball player, I'm not going to mention names right now about the guard, but he said that he called Frank Kaminsky a white N-word, and I thought it was extremely low class.
Well, the thing that gets me about it more than anything, though, is after this was done, if that white guy would have said that about the Kentucky player,
absolutely,
the Final Four would have been forgotten. I listened on ESPN to some of these African-American sports writers, and all they did was they tried to justify that this kid was right. Oh, this kid's 20 years old. He's just a young kid. He didn't know what he was saying.
Baloney.
Yes, this kid knew what he was saying, and these sports writers need to hold him accountable for what he did. I
agree. I got to run. I'm late going to the news, but call me tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about this, okay? I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Got to run to the news. I'll be back in 6 minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Good-looking day out there, too. Zeb Bell with you, and, of course, we want to say thank you to our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations involved in a great big spring tire sale right now, along with our friends at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And let's not forget our dear friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always in Georgia's struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, every spring land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia's struggle.
Locally owned and operated and serving you, Western Waste Services, whether it's getting on the route service, every week they come by and get your garbage, it's gone, it's out of there, or whether it's the dumpsters in various sizes, clean out the basement, clean out the garage, whatever, and for the special events coming up this spring and summer, the need of all the porta potties, they've got them at Western Waste Services. Call them today, 734-6969. As I say every day, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. disposal. Really nice people. Talking about nice people, as we always do every day on this program, we talk about our dear friend Joel Heward, manager of Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Family and a situation to where they serve other families, especially, of course, when there's the passing of a loved one. Hanson Mortuary, the staff, can go to the rural towns and churches and help you, the family member, with all the arrangements. You don't have to go to them. All you have to do is give them a call, 436-5636, and they always serve you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number and give them a call, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Really nice people. And also, don't forget, every morning on the program when I start things at 8:06, we start with Michael Rogers' weather, and we're very appreciative of his weather forecast, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Lots and lots of newly refurbished furniture, all your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, whatever you need to make your house a home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Look for the blue door at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and I just met this lady about a week, 10 days ago, and I was very much impressed with her at St. Luke's Magic Valley, and she is an outpatient nutritionist and wellness expert. Sarah Rinaldi, how are you this morning?
Hi, Zeb. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Well, I just got to tell you that people like you put a smile on a face like mine, because it was really interesting and informative and, quite frankly, a little bit entertaining, too, to talk to you, a registered dietitian and nutritionist, because when people are thinking that the end is all black and it's bleak and there's no future for enjoying food anymore, all of a sudden I sat down and talked to you, and there's a lot of options available for people that are heart attack victims or others that want to lose weight. You can do it and still not have to crawl inside of a cave and just eat twigs and bugs.
Well, I'm so glad that that's what you came away thinking. That is my purpose in life, to make people realize that. So that is great.
Now, Sarah, let's kind of get down to the specifics and talk a little bit about patients that maybe have had a heart attack, people that need to lose some weight because of health reasons, etc. How do you go about constructing a diet so that they can possibly meet their goals as far as weight reduction is concerned?
Yes, so I think you touched on a good point earlier about, I think when people a lot of the times go to a dietitian or think of a dietitian, they think, oh, this is somebody who's going to sit down with me and tell me, what I can't have. There's the food police, and I'm not going to be able to eat anything again. But what I like to focus on, I'm a dietitian, but I'm also a foodie. So I love to cook. I love eating food. I love everything about food. And, food can be a medicine in of itself if you're eating the right things. So I like to talk to people about, and we all like to focus on what we can't have, but I like to focus on all the wonderful, delicious foods that we can have and learning to really enjoy those good, nutritious foods and nourish our body and get it better again. So going to your question, it's kind of, it's very individualized. So finding out where a person's at now, there's many different ends of the spectrum. Is this person, cooking for themselves? Are they eating out 2-3 meals a day? Or are they already doing pretty well and we just kind of need to tweak it here and there and to make it a little bit better? So it's very individualized, I guess, is the answer to that question.
Sarah, let me ask you this, and I'm kind of shotgunning our approach here this morning, so bear with me. But I would imagine that someone that is single or possibly a widow or a widower, and they eat a lot of their meals, maybe 85 to 90% of their meals out because they don't want to stay at home and cook for themselves. I would imagine that makes it a little bit tougher for them to lose weight or maintain a certain diet. Is that right or wrong?
It can be, and especially depending on, where you're eating. And we all love to eat at restaurants. I mean, I am no different. I like eating out too, but we have to realize that, and I think you and I talked about this, but, to use this as an example, we make food at home usually much differently than a restaurant would make it. So I think we had talked about, if you go to a restaurant and get a grilled chicken breast, well, if you're making it at home, you're controlling how much salt, you're controlling the type of oil you're using when you're barbecuing it. When you go to a restaurant, though, you really don't know what you're getting. So maybe they're using a lot of butter when they're broiling this chicken breast. When they're basting it in butter, they're putting a lot more salt on it. So it's kind of, you don't have as much control as you have in your own kitchen as to what you're getting. And, restaurants, they're businesses, so they want to keep us coming in. They want to keep us happy and coming back for more. So a lot of the times they're doing really big portions, right? Because we want to feel like we're getting our money's worth. Mm-hmm. If we go to a restaurant and get a teeny little portion, we're feeling like we're getting ripped off, right? Or maybe that's just me. But
right.
So we're getting bigger portions,
right,
and we're getting more salt, we're getting more fat, more cholesterol, so it adds up really quickly.
But now, let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned some of the oils, etc., used in cooking. Let's go back home and cook a meal right now. How do people know what oils or sprays like the PAM, etc., they can or can't use, especially like if they're a heart patient and they really got to watch what they eat?
Right. So there are not all, I always tell people not all fats are created equal. So we know that there are healthier fats. Some fats are healthier than others. And we don't want to, it's important we don't want to cut out all the fat from our diet because some fat is important, for several different body processes. But especially when you're dealing with heart health, there's actually quite a few fats that are very heart healthy and would be beneficial. Some fats can actually help lower your bad cholesterol and raise your good cholesterol. So some of the healthy options, if you want to think plant-based fats, and the plant-based fats are those fats that are liquid at room temperature. So those would be, some examples of those would be, olive oil. That's one that we've kind of all heard of, and that's very healthy for us. Can be anti-inflammatory, really good for our heart. Some of the other kind of fats that are really good, you might have heard of the omega-3 fats, and those are the fats that are found in fish, like salmon, some of the other fatty fishes, and also if you're not a fish person, you can find those in some of the nuts, like walnuts, almonds, those kind of fats.
Okay.
So getting more of those fats in, and I think you and I talked about that, when you're cooking, substituting something like butter or lard for olive oil or canola oil, adding in some healthy fats in your snacks like nuts. I think we talked about that.
Right.
So those are all different ways we can add in some of those healthy fats.
Now, one of the big things that I had to all of a sudden just say no to was salt. I salted everything. And but then on the other hand, our bodies do need certain amounts of salt. So how do we know how much or how little that we can get by with?
Yeah, so, sodium, it's a mineral. Down in its core, it's just a mineral, and it is necessary for good health. It's present in a lot of foods naturally, and also, they add sodium as a preservative, so they add it to a lot of the foods to keep them shelf stable. So the problem is, if your body can't get rid of the extra sodium, you can have problems. You can have some fluid buildup, which makes it hard for your heart and kidneys to work. So eating less sodium can help control some of these problems. So for healthy people who haven't been told they have high blood pressure, usually a good amount to aim for is 2,000 milligrams of sodium or salt. So, yeah, and you're right. Too little can be a problem, but definitely it seems like too much is more of a problem with most people in our country, just because they add it to so many foods. So I think the first thing I like to tell people is if you can limit the salt shaker itself. So if that's the way, how you start, if you don't eat any different, but just stop adding salt, just because for the sheer fact that what we eat is going to have a lot in it. Also, avoiding some of the foods where large amounts of salt have been added.
Right.
So some of these things include frozen dinners, cured meats, lunch meat, pickles, potato chips, pretzels, those kind of things, canned TV dinners. If you can, and going back again to getting in the kitchen, eating more fresh, cooking more, using herbs and spices to flavor instead of salt. Those are all some ways you can cut back. But it is a tough one because our taste buds get used to salt, so when we're used to having it and then all of a sudden we cut it out pretty drastically, things taste bland. That's the word I hear a lot when people first start giving up salt.
What about, though, are there other substitutes that you know of, other spices or something that might be comparable to salt that you can use? I mean, what are they?
Yeah, well, there are salt substitutes, and those are, they're name brand things. You have to be careful with those. You always want to ask your doctor because most of the time those are made with potassium instead of sodium. So if you have other health problems where you wouldn't want to be having a lot of extra potassium, that could be an issue. So that's a salt substitute, and that's what it looks like salt, but it's not salt. But besides that, other things that are really great that I like to recommend are the spice blends. So Mrs. Dash, that's probably a common one that everybody's heard of. And they have, if you go to the store now, they have, oh my gosh, probably half a dozen or more different varieties of Mrs. Dash, whether it's, they have a chicken blend, or they have a beef blend, or they have a barbecue Cajun blend. So, and they're salt free. They just utilize, garlic powder, onion powder, chili, different spices, and they kind of compound and make these rubs, spices to put on your meat or your potatoes, and they're really, really good and salt-free.
Let me ask you this other question. I think I mentioned this the other day when I was in your office. No matter how hard you try, let's say you've had a heart attack, let's say whatever the physical impairment might be, you're not going to be able to maintain the rigidity of that diet 24/7, 365. And I asked you, I said, what happens if somebody falls off the wagon once in a while? It's not a death notice, is it?
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's, you use the word diet, and I hate the word diet because it is. It's like a 4-letter word. It's this feeling of doom and gloom when you think you're on a diet. So, we want to, like I said before, just change the way you eat. Try to embrace healthy eating and not think of it as a restriction and as a diet. And then knowing, just like what you said, if you fall off the wagon, if you are at a birthday party and have some cake and ice cream, it's not the end of the world. You just, enjoy that cake and ice cream because it's a treat. And, really appreciate it and enjoy it, and then move on and say, okay, well, I had my cake and ice cream last night. So this morning I'm going to get back on it, have a healthy breakfast, and kind of just move on. So not beating yourself up over it, and knowing that, yeah, it's a continuum. And I think if you try to be too strict all the time, then it can end up backfiring. And that's where some of those things come in, like you might have a binge eating or really feeling bad about yourself and feeling guilty about yourself, and we don't want that. We want food to be a positive experience. So
now, Sarah, what about when you sit there and talk to someone and you're the registered dietitian and know all about the different foods, etc., isn't there also room in the conversation to also discuss exercise, or do you get into that, or do you refer someone to someone else? Exercise along with good eating is absolutely a necessity, I would imagine.
Oh, yes. So that is an excellent point that you bring up, because it's kind of, a double-sided coin, diet and exercise. And there's some people who try to do it all with diet without exercising, and it makes it harder. When we exercise and we're building more lean muscle tissue, your muscle is going to be more metabolically active at rest, so you're going to be burning more calories. If you can replace some of your, adipose fat tissue with muscle, you're going to be burning more calories. Exercising, getting that heart rate up purposely for a set amount of time, very important for cardiovascular health. So yes, exercise is vital. On the other hand, there's some people, though, who try to do it only with exercise and not change how they eat. So I hear that a lot as well. I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm going to go to the gym. and I'm working out, 2 hours a day, but yet I'm not really seeing the results I want. And that's because they're still eating the same way they were. And a lot of the times, if you're not careful, exercising can increase your appetite too. So they're working off the calories, but then they're hungrier, so they're eating more. So it's not working. So I always tell people you really have to do both to be successful and to make it a long-term thing. And even I think we talked about this. Even if it has nothing to do with weight, even if you're a healthy weight, and you're happy with the current weight you are now, exercise is still really important just to, like I said, build that cardiovascular endurance and the strength. I'm definitely not a personal trainer. I do like exercising, but, if you're wanting a individualized exercise, weight, that kind of plan, then obviously I would refer you on to, an expert in that as well. So we all have our purposes where we can direct patients.
Let me ask you this question, and I know I might be veering off course just a little bit, Sarah, but we've seen the government get so involved in the nutrition factors of our kids at the schools, and I've talked to many school leaders across the country on this program, and they're really upset because kids aren't getting enough to eat. They're hungry in the afternoon, their stomachs are growling, and then they might participate in sports, and they're not having enough of a caloric content to really keep them going until supper that evening. I mean, really, are we looking at too much one-size-fits-all in the schools, and we're ignoring the needs of certain kids that just need more food?
Yeah, well, I can't speak exactly to what they're offering in the schools. I know that, they do have guidelines that they have to, base their menus and whatnot off of. I think the most important thing, too, is that, we can only expect, it's great that our schools are offering healthier meals, but also we have to, what I'm always telling parents is, you can't only rely on the schools. We have to be, offering them healthy foods at home, too, and offering them enough at home as well. So the schools can help us, but, we also need to have, some personal responsibility in teaching our kids to eat healthy at home and make healthy choices when they're not with us, too, because we can't always control how they're going to eat when they're out of our sight, unfortunately. So I guess we can only, offer what we can, make sure we're offering plenty of fruits, plenty of vegetables, and definitely, I think, personally, individualizing it a little bit to making sure the kids are getting enough, for sure.
Now, if people are sitting there listening this morning and they go, wow, this is a sharp young lady, and they'd like to talk to you, I mean, how do you go about extending, possibly visiting with them, and how can they contact you and talk more about diets and dietary needs?
Well, so like you said, I'm one of the registered dietitian nutritionists here at St. Luke's in Twin Falls. So normally when people come and see me, so they can be self-referred, so they can call St. Luke's here and ask to talk to the outpatient dietitian department, or we do get a lot of referrals through people's primary care providers. So if you're interested, you could contact your doctor, your primary care provider, and say, I want a referral to see one of the dietitians. And it doesn't even have to be me. I know there's dietitians in your area as well, and really all over the state. It's,
right.
Whatever your particular, or the country even. So, whatever your particular area of concern is, trying to find a referral to a registered dietitian or an RD is the best way to go.
I absolutely want to have you back on the program again. You are excellent. Sarah Rinaldi, and she is a registered dietitian nutritionist at St. Luke's Magic Valley Hospital in Twin Falls. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the program this morning. God's blessings, and I'll call you back in the future, okay?
Thank you, Zeb. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you very much. Very, very nice lady right there, and extremely articulate about diet and what to do, what not to do, and that type of thing. There goes Deanne running from one office to the other. There she goes on the dead run. Oh, my. We got a lot of things to talk about, and we'll take some more calls and have another guest coming on the program in just a few moments. Don't forget Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness. A have you been over there lately and checked out all the ATVs? My goodness, the showroom is just filled with them. All the different ATVs, all the different sizes, all the different colors. I mean, they've got fun right there for you. That's where the fun is sold. You stop in and check it out at Let's Ride today and get ready to go to the hills and enjoy the best of Southern Idaho. And don't forget, too, that if you already have some ATVs and maybe you haven't had them worked on for this spring to get them all serviced and everything, you call them at 436-4771, make an appointment, and they can take care of getting everything ready to go for fun up in the hills. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn. You get a hold of them today. Let's Ride. Really, really nice folks. You know, when I mention nice folks, that leads me right up to some other business that's right there on Highway 24 in Rupert, and that's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance with Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. And you want to work with people that really, really know their business. You want to work with professionals, and that's exactly what they are. Very dedicated and responsive to your needs and devoted to serving others. You give them a call, make an appointment, and get in to see Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Okay? Hey, by the way, I got to get my note over here. Dan Tracy called me about 10 days ago, and the Elmo Boy Scouts are going to have a great big turkey shoot coming up this next weekend, April 25th, Saturday, from 10 to 2 p.m., and it's going to be up by the cemetery in Elba, and they're going to have all kinds of neat prizes, shotguns and custom-made knives, and they're going to have certain passes to fun spots like Durfee Hot Springs. They're going to have food for purchase up there and a silent auction. So the proceeds go to help the Elmo Boy Scouts, and they're going to have a great big turkey shoot coming up this next Saturday, April 25th. Don't you miss it, okay? Hey, by the way, I know somebody else that's really celebrating. They're celebrating 20 years and celebrating their 20th anniversary of serving you the best food anywhere, anytime. Steve-O's at 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn. They'd like to thank the community for all their support over the 20 years, and they appreciate each and every one of their customers. And they've got the friendliest servers and dedicated staff, and they say, come on in for favorite lunch or dinner at Steve-O's, serving outstanding food for 20 years at 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn, Steve-O's. Oh, yeah, my favorite, the steak sandwich. I just absolutely love it. We're going to be ready to go with our next guest in just a few moments with the Alliance Defending Freedom. But I also want to remind you there's a great big conference coming up, and yours truly is trying to find the paper on that. It's going to be, of course, this Thursday, April 23rd, and it's the One by One seminar for women, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Oh, my goodness, it's at the Best Western Burley Inn Convention Center at 800 North Overland in Burley, and tickets, if you haven't got tickets yet, they're $20 and can be purchased at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 1177 7th Street in Heyburn, or call them at the Chamber, 679-4793. These are going to be great gifts to give those people that work for you for Professional Administrative Day, or Secretary's Day, whichever you prefer, which is on Wednesday, April 22nd. They're going to have various speakers there like Diane Bevan and Alice Schenck and Jan Mitliner. Oh, they're going to have wonderful occasions for fun and interesting seminars at the One by One Women's Seminar, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, this Thursday, April 23rd, from 10 to 3 p.m. at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. Don't miss it. All right, let's go to the phone lines right now. And with us for the Alliance Defending Freedom this morning, we have Caleb Dalton. And good morning, Caleb. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Really nice to have you on the program. And let me kind of start things off this morning, Caleb, if I can, that I am absolutely infuriated that in this great country of America we are seeing the dissolution and value of marriage between one man and one woman. We're seeing family situations thrown to the roadside. We're seeing our morals tromped on and our values are on the line that we might never get back, and now we're seeing more of a full court press for the gay marriage in this country and basically the denigration of marriage the way it should be. All that being said, bring us up to speed on what's happening with the Supreme Court on April 28th.
Yeah, as you mentioned, on April 28th, the Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments on challenges to states' laws that have been timeless, universal, and unique throughout the history of our civilization that define marriages between a man and a woman. Now, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld those laws in Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan. And they said, you know what, these states have the right to define marriage between a man and woman. And in fact, this definition offers a unique benefit to children, providing them with their biological mother and father. The state has a really unique interest in promoting that, both for the welfare of the children in that state. The plaintiffs who have challenged those laws, they're appealing it to the United States Supreme Court, asking the court to step in and tell the states that they can't define marriage however they want anymore. They're asking the court to say that the Constitution defines marriage for the states, and it obviously doesn't. So that's what's at stake here on April 28th when the Supreme Court hears arguments, is the right of the people to define marriage for their own states.
Caleb, let me almost be very simplistic here, but why and who? Why is there such a big push in this country for the acceptance of gay marriage, and who is sponsoring this with all the money behind this?
Well, the why question obviously goes into the hearts and minds of individuals who have all their own motivations. The who is really sponsored by a lot of big business, a lot of large organizations like the ACLU, Lambda Legal, billions of dollars of funding behind them, pushing for the redefinition of marriage within these states. It's something you alluded to, you being upset about it. One thing that upsets me just as I think about this, as I litigate these cases, is the impact on children. One of the briefs submitted before the Supreme Court this year just shows how this could result. We already see an epidemic of fatherlessness and marriages falling apart. But when you take this core part of what marriage is, about binding parents to their biological children, when you take that away, the projected denigration of marriage across our society is projected to leave another 600,000 children without fathers in their lives here in the next few years. When you just undermine that core part of what marriage is in society, and it really impacts kids not only for their own welfare, it impacts our economy, it impacts our entire society when you have these children being raised without their own biological mother and father.
You know, I can't even imagine, Caleb, and I'm sure you have different stories to back this up, but I can't imagine the mental anguish and the hardship and the sorrow and the going out in the community for these children when one of their parents marries into or lives with a same-sex partner. I mean, this has got to be very, very tough on the kids.
It really is, and several of these children have submitted briefs to the Supreme Court as well. I'm talking on a panel with one of them named Katie Faust, and she'll be on a panel with me on Friday discussing this very issue. She was raised by two women. They were very loving. They were great parents to her, but she was missing that in her life. She was missing her dad. She always had that absence of her father in her life, and that's been hurtful for her throughout her life. And she loves her mother. She loves her mother's partner. She has a great relationship with them.
but she doesn't want the courts to go and redefine marriage and to promote a situation in which every child in that situation is not going to be able to know or have contact with their biological parent. That's not the ideal situation for children, and that's why we don't promote those kinds of relationships as a society. We give freedom to everyone to have whatever relationship they want. But for marriage, it's always been defined as and undergirded by the idea that there's a family unit and that a biological parent should stay with their child to provide for them, protect them. And that's the ideal. That's where children do best when they're raised with their biological mom and dad. And that's why states continue to define marriage that way. And we promote that particular relationship, and we allow all other relationships.
You know, Caleb, am I wrong in thinking that there's still an opportunity that we can have common sense prevail and that gay marriage will not be accepted in all 50 of the states? Or are we like our boot heels are on the edge of the cliff and it's kind of a done deal? What are your thoughts on this?
It's certainly not a done deal. And that's the question the Supreme Court's going to hear. And we obviously, anybody can try to predict what the court will or will not do. But a couple of years ago when they decided the Windsor case, Justice Kennedy wrote that opinion, and he made it very clear that this is an issue that states are allowed to define. It's been an issue that's been fundamental to core to states' rights. The area of domestic relations policy, he talked about how the state of New York in that case had already redefined marriage to include same-sex couples. And he said, that's the right of the state of New York to do. And in the Windsor case, he said the federal government shouldn't step in and impinge on the state's rights to redefine marriage. It's the same thing in this case. The Supreme Court is not the supreme policy maker for the country. They shouldn't be stepping in and trying to decide what's good or bad policy and impose their policy views about domestic relations on all 50 states. That's up to each state's legislatures and each state's people within their states to define. So no, it's not a done deal, and I think Justice Kennedy understands that federalism really hinges on their opinion here. If they impose their policy preferences for marriage on all 50 states, it will undermine federalism in a way that will impact, I think, future legislation and future states' rights for a long time to come.
Caleb, let me ask you this question, and you're very knowledgeable on this subject, I can tell. But once that we have a redefinition of marriage, and let's assume the worst, that the Supreme Court goes along with a redefinition, but then after they make this redefinition for gay marriages to be acceptable in all 50 states, isn't that going to open up a Pandora's box for a possible another redefinition of marriage in the future? Aren't they opening up a monopoly board of problems?
Well, there really is no a limiting principle that you can articulate. If marriage really isn't the union of one man and one woman for the purpose of raising the biological children that they're capable of raising and bearing, if that's not the purpose of a marriage, if it's really just about adults' desires toward each other, which really the government has no business being involved in the first place, if that's really what it's about, there's no limiting principle. Why is it between two people at all? Why can't it be between three people? Mm-hmm. There's really no limiting principle. Once you say that marriage really isn't between a man and a woman, it's not about the children. Once you say it's about adult desires, there's no principle at all. And it very well could lead to further underminings of this core foundational part of our society.
Now, also, let me ask you this question, Caleb. Would you be thinking that if this goes through, we are going to see some very strict wording against churches, against church doctrine, against the teaching and preaching of the Bible, to where those of us that believe in marriage only as a man and a woman, and that marriages should be sacred in the church between a man and a woman, are we going to be seeing a kind of a forced governmental, yes, you will marry them in your church attitude?
Well, I don't know that we can predict that extreme of government overreach in the future. It's very possible. What we do know is religious liberty is intrinsically tied to this particular issue. When we've seen marriage redefinition in all these states, it has directly impacted the religious liberty and really the freedom of all citizens to share their opinions on marriage. The government has, in effect, in a lot of these states, mandated an orthodoxy that if you're going to run a business in that state, you have to provide and affirm the government's redefinition of marriage. And that's not what a free society is about. A free society allows dissent. It allows the free exercise of expression on both sides. It doesn't pick winners and losers on matters of social policy like this and coerce uniformity of opinion where everyone has to believe and act the same way. That's not America. That's not the America I want my kids to grow up in. And I don't think that's America we want for our future. And that's why we're fighting for religious liberty in a lot of states and on this particular area with the redefinition of marriage to keep it from impacting the freedom of all Americans to live and believe as they see fit.
Would you care to give us a little kind of a prediction as to what you think the Supreme Court is going to do and what they're going to say on the 28th? What are your thoughts?
Well, you never know. On the 28th, when they hear oral arguments, it's always interesting to hear what the justices say, and it's pretty dangerous to predict how the outcome will be based on what they say in oral arguments on the 28th. But what we do know is the Constitution is very clear. It does not require the states to redefine marriage. It leaves that issue up to the states, up to the people of each state. And it leaves this very important policy question up to them. One thing, as far as the court goes, that really struck me in one of the briefs was one of the briefs talked about how on the Supreme Court we value gender diversity, right? We understand that women and men bring a unique perspective to the table, even on the Supreme Court. And those who are trying to impose marriage redefinition on society are now saying that, no, a mother doesn't bring something unique to the table. A child doesn't need a mother. Or, no, a father doesn't bring something unique to the table. A child doesn't need a father. They can be fine without that. And we don't accept that in any other part of our society, this abolition of gender diversity. There's something unique and special that men and women both bring to the table, both in parenting and on the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court will really get that on April 28th when they hear the arguments, that there is value in the biological mother and biological father knowing, raising, and protecting each of their children. And we should promote that particular situation. The government doesn't have an interest in promoting and regulating other relationships.
Well, I'll go back to what I said originally when I started our conversation this morning, Caleb. I said that with this April 28th Supreme Court ruling, marriage, family, morals, values, all are on the line in this country. And I think there's a lot at stake as to what the Supreme Court is going to say. Last word goes to you.
I appreciate your bringing attention to this issue, and for having me on the show. It's important. I ask everybody get engaged on this issue. You can get on social media. If you want to come out, there's a March for Marriage this weekend in D.C. You can join online if you can't make it out to D.C. Google it. Come on out and support marriage. It's important that everyone see that the people of America still support marriage between a man and a woman. This is really foundational to our society, to our freedoms, and we need people to step out and show their support. So I appreciate you helping out with that, and all the support we've already received, and for giving a voice to those who don't have a voice.
Absolutely. Litigation Counsel, Alliance Defending Freedom. I am very, very proud of these people for what they do. Caleb Dalton, thank you for being on the program this morning, and absolutely God's blessings to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too, sir.
Thank you very much. I just cringe as to the loss of value in this country, the loss of morality. And there are people that get on the news, you hear them every day. Well, it's an ever-changing, evolving society. Why? Why do we need an ever-changing, evolving society that denigrates family principles, that denigrates family morals and values? Why? Why do we need that? Why do we have to go into the cesspool of what other people want to jump into? I mean, I certainly hope the Supreme Court has enough common sense to say, no, marriage is not going to be redefined. Marriage is going to be maintained as a man and a woman in marriage. I am so sick of this gay and transgender lifestyle being thrust upon our society and others, and we that don't believe in it are forced to accept it, or we're the bigots and the hate mongers. Well, I will tell you this. If that's the case, will stay as a bigot and a hate monger, because I don't believe in it, and I will not adhere to it. We're going to have the weather forecast right now, and the weather's brought to everybody this hour by Mad River Laser. We've really got some wonderful friends over there. Nicole and Alex Pratt at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. They can do anything. They can make anything. Business promotional items for your company. My goodness, all the sweatshirts, the t-shirts, the caps, the jackets, you name it. They are so talented. All your employee recognition awards, everything. Everything. So please get a hold of them today. Mad River Laser, call 436-2293 or stop in 502 East Street in Rupert. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is down at the ranch. Started a brand spanking new week of you, me, and sunny weather all the way to Thursday. How about that? Temperatures lows make that upper 60s, low 70s. No major storms so far. We have rain in the forecast at Thursday. That's Thursday. So enjoy the Monday. Enjoy the winters. Gentlemen, what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Brought to everybody by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. They can do anything at Mad River Laser. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll put the question to you folks for the remainder of this hour. Are you just going to sit back and let society, our society here in the United States, just basically go right down the drain? Are you willing to stand up and fight for it? Are you willing to say no, enough is enough? I mean, every single day, someone, some group wants a little bit of taking away of the morality and the decency in this country. And they, in turn, call us the, like I said a moment ago, bigots and hate mongers. Let's take this call quickly. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
So I don't understand why we should get so excited about what they're calling us. You know, when I was a kid, it was sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
I agree.
And they know they can get under us fight by calling us that bull crap.
I don't know about you, but I've had it. And on this program, if the program is sacrificed in the future to the point where they pull the plug because they call me that bigot and hate monger, so be it. Because I am not going to weaken. I don't believe in certain things. I don't believe in their values, if they have any. I don't believe in their ethics, if they have any. And what they're trying to do is turn upside down a moral value in this country to total moral decay. Would you agree with that?
Well, yes, but they're also trying to make us angry enough to rise up and fight them.
Okay, how do you rise up and fight these people when they seem to have the ear and seem to have the arm twisting of our own government?
I think the biggest thing we can do is ignore them. The name calling.
Well, maybe ignoring the problem is not going to make it go away, and ignoring the problem is not going to stop them from appealing to the courts. Ignoring the problem is not going to stop them from having an advocacy with this administration and possibly future administrations. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm certainly not going to conform to their beliefs.
I'm not either. You know, this is the exact thing that has ruined countless civilizations. It's this stupid idea of filth.
I agree. You've hit it right on the head, my dear, and God bless you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Thank you. She's right. Filth. That's what it is. Now, there are those right now taking notes, these small-minded little people, that absolutely, diversity, you've got to change. You can't be that way. Well, yes, I will be. I'm not going to change. I believe in the Bible. I believe in the principles of the Bible. I believe in what it says, and I'm not going to go along with, and by the way, these people are in much smaller numbers, but yet they're telling us, the majority, how to live? Nope. Not going to happen. Don't forget Lennox at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They can offer rebates on quality and qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget, at Ramsey's, they've been a Lennox independent dealer for over 50 years, and they know the climate, they know the equipment, and they've done the shopping for you. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I'd like to know what you think. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. You know, in the Old Testament, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, offered up fire, and the Lord struck them dead because they offered up strange fire. They did not do what the Lord told them to, and He didn't tolerate diversity. Still does not. But we tolerate anything and everything, and we being very broad, obviously. We as a nation are tolerant, and that is what has brought all of this on. So fighting it won't make a difference. Ignoring it won't make a difference. We need to take the consequences and deal with them, and as you say, never give up, because we've got to keep on keeping on. We cannot be diverse when it comes to going against those words.
I agree. Let me ask you a quick question here. I mentioned this to Caleb when he was on the air. But by redefining marriage, if the Supreme Court decides to redefine it and say that it can be two women, it can be two men, they're going to redefine everything, where do you stop the redefinition of marriage? Because somewhere down the line, you know this is true, someone's going to say, well, I want to marry my two girlfriends down the street, or someone's going to say, I want to marry my dog, or somebody's going to say, I want to marry my goldfish. How is the Supreme Court going to stop that ball from rolling downhill?
Oh, they're not, and it will get worse. And the worst thing is that it will involve children.
I agree.
I don't care about the goldfishes and the girls down the street and the dogs, but you and I both know the biggest worry to all of our minds is our babies. Because it will not protect our children.
I'm old enough.
Put them in harm's way.
I agree. I'm old enough to remember, and I don't know if you are or not, the very, very interesting covers by Norman Rockwell on the Saturday Evening Post showing America at its best. Families around the Thanksgiving dinner table, families going to church on Sunday, families going on excursions and fishing trips. And you know something? That part of America is almost gone, isn't it?
It is. I remember the calendars.
Yes.
No, I'm just teasing you. I don't know that I remember the covers, but
well,
anyway.
I'm an old fogey, so I do remember. But God bless you for your phone call this morning. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Nice lady right there. I'll tell you what, the America I grew up in, going to church was not belittled. It was looked up to. And being a family sitting around the table at supper time and or a huge family dinner on Easter, Christmas, or whatever other holiday was absolutely suggested as being, you bet, the norm. What happened? Let's not forget our friends at Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. Tim Vaughn, he was here the other day, had a nice talk to him. Really, really nice gentleman. And you can call this number and get Tim on the line and talk to him about estimates for whatever you need built. 431-7314. That number again, 431-7314. And Streamline Precision is a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services. And they always make a coordinated, accurate, confidential, and consistent timelines to meet their clients' demanding needs. Whether it's putting up on the farm grain storage with grain bins, they're authorized dealers in Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings, or, maybe you need great big equipment to handle your dirt hauling right there on your farm or ranch or your place. They've got the big side dump trucks to take care of the job. And they also have the big heavy rigs for hauling your farm equipment from point A to point B. Give them a call today, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. The professionals working for you. Okay? Let's take a look here. Boy, I got such a distorted feed line here this morning. It's really coming through loud and clear. Next hour, we're going to have Andrew Bostom on the phone, and I really am looking forward to this gentleman coming on the program. He has written a book called Iran's Final Solution for Israel, The Legacy of Jihad and Shiite Islamic Jew Hatred in Iran. Very, very interesting book. I've been trying to race through it the last couple of nights to read up for this program. And then at 10:30, we're going to have Barbara Boland on the program. You don't want to miss her topic this morning. It will shock you. We'll be back in about 6 minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And also some of our great advertisers that we've been talking about all morning long, and that's, of course, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Locally owned and operated. Get rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. And don't forget Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment, and that will be Mr. Andrew Bostom. And don't miss this interesting and very informative segment we got coming up. Before we do, I want to remind you about the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, today's special is going to be green olive chicken salad wraps served with choice of side and super salad. It is good, always is. They've got wonderful, wonderful menu selections and a daily special at a place where they really have nice people, excellent decor, and just great food. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today, okay? Also, real fast, I want to remind you that coming up on this Thursday, as I said last hour, the 1x1 Women's Seminar sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be this Thursday, April 23rd from 10 to 3 at the Best Western Burley Inn Convention Center at 800 North Overland in Burley. And tickets are $20, and they can be purchased at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 1177 7th Street in Hayburn. So be sure and call them if you have more questions, 679-4793. Great gifts for Secretary's Day, or if you prefer to call it Professional Administrative Day on April 22nd. Okay? This event, 1x1 Women's Seminar this Thursday on April 23rd. Oh my, let's go to the phone lines right now and say good morning to a gentleman that this book is outstanding, along with many of his books. He is an expert on what's happening over in the Middle East, and we say good morning to Andrew Bostom. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
It is my pleasure, and I got to admit, Andrew, I haven't yet got through the entirety of your book, but I found it to be very, very interesting and very precisely and professionally written. Tell us, what is the meaning and why did you want to write the book, Iran's Final Solution for Israel? Give us a little background on this book.
Well, I wanted people to understand what the ideology of the Iranian regime was,
how deep-rooted it was, how it wasn't even merely a phenomenon of something that took place, in 1978 and 1979. It really went back to the beginning of the 16th century when the country formally became a Shiite theocracy. And it's rooted in three pillars, which I wanted to elaborate. And actually, interestingly enough, Prime Minister Netanyahu, in that very eloquent speech he gave at the beginning of March now, he got at least to two of the pillars of this regime, and unfortunately of Iranian Shiite society more broadly. And those are its jihadism, which he noted was rooted right in the Constitution. Iran's 1979 Constitution has an article which declares it to be pursuing jihad to spread the authority of Allah's law, the Sharia, Islamic law, and it includes a Quranic verse, which is from the 8th chapter or surah of the Quran, the 60th verse, which talks about striking terror into the hearts of the infidel. And of course, what better way to do that than with nuclear weapons? And then Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech, he also mentioned how Iran's current supreme leader, supreme theocrat, Ayatollah Khamenei, actually uses his Twitter account to disseminate pretty vile anti-Semitic annihilationist sentiments. He had tweeted out the Ayatollah had back in November 9 steps for the elimination of Israel. And so Prime Minister Netanyahu was alluding to that, but then he didn't get to what I think is the third pillar, which is a really ugly doctrine which applies to all non-Muslims. And again, you could go back to Ayatollah Khamenei's Twitter account from the previous November. So the one about the tweet about the Jews was November 2014. The tweet about this other doctrine about the physical and spiritual uncleanliness or najis of all non-Muslims was, you could see in a tweet from the year before, in 2013, where Ayatollah Khamenei referred to Israel as the unclean rabid dog of the region. And those words, unclean in particular, that's the literal translation of najis. But dogs are considered to be like pigs in Shiite Iranian theology. And the idea is that you dehumanize the non-Muslim, and of course dehumanization is a step towards elimination. So here he was doing it to an entire society, Israel. And historically, if you look at how the Jews and other non-Muslims were treated in Iran, first of all, for the Nazis, Jews had to wear yellow pieces of cloth on their clothing, and they were ghettoized. And part of the reason for this distinguishing piece of cloth was so that Shiite Muslims would know not to approach them, because it was also believed that water could convey their physical impurity. In other words, and they were literally prevented from going out in their ghettos in the snow or rain. It's a very, very ugly doctrine, and it was practiced through about 1923, before Iran underwent its real change, which was that period of secularization from about 1925 to 1979. But again, it's a very ugly doctrine, and it's applied. There was another fatwa that Khamenei issued in 2013, where he declared the very small, very peaceful Baha'i minority. Baha'i is a religion that evolved in the 19th century, and it's a very pacific religion, sort of a composite of all the world's major religions, but it literally does teach world peace. But anyway, they've been brutally persecuted for a century and a half now. There's a tiny remnant left in Iran. And Khamenei issues a fatwa about them, calling them a deviant sect, which of course they are, according to Islam. But he also refers to their uncleanliness. And the Baha'i have been very involved in the flower industry in Iran and around the world. Well, it forced an edict came out which forced the family flower business of the Baha'i to be shut down because, when you're dealing with flowers and the cuttings and everything, you use a lot of water. So it was felt that that since they're unclean, they could convey their uncleanliness to the Shiite Muslim clientele that might come to their flower shop. I mean, this is how ugly it gets. But at any rate, I wanted people to have some understanding of what is so dark about this regime, and their sentiments toward the other, and how this is the last kind of regime, just like the Nazis, that you would want to have nuclear weapons capability.
Now, that being said, Andrew, and boy, that was a very interesting dissertation, but I've got to ask you a couple of naive questions on my part, and I'm sure the listeners might also have some of the same questions. Where does the origination of the hatred for the Jewish people start from? Where does it stem from that has carried it over to modern day? Where is what's the birthplace of that hatred?
Well, again, in this particular context, and really you don't need, this is another canard, you don't need to go outside the Islamic context for this. Unfortunately, you don't need to invoke anti-Semitic themes from medieval Christianity. You don't need to invoke the protocols of the Elders of Zion. You don't invoke the Nazis. What the Shiites are doing, and the Sunnis do this as well. The Shiites add this, physical uncleanliness, this spiritual uncleanliness aspect to it. But what they're tapping into are Islam's, canonical foundational sources, the Quran, the traditions of Muhammad, which are brilliantly anti-Semitic. It's a very conspiratorial form of Jew hatred. It's deeply embedded in themes like the Jews as prophet killers, as spreaders of corruption, as sort of stubborn, obstinate people who refuse to accept that Muhammad was their prophet too. And then they was, according to the Muslim traditions, they resorted to all kinds of techniques to thwart his message, to try and poison him too. So in other words, they become accused of actually this is taught in Iranian national teachers exam, a canonical tradition from Islam about after Muhammad violently subdues this Jewish tribe at the Khyber Oasis. And slaughters and subjugates. He's alleged to have been poisoned to death by a Jewish woman whose entire family was killed by Muhammad. Again, this is all according to the Muslim sources. So on the Iranian national teachers exam, there's a question. Who poisoned Muhammad? And the answer is, quote, Khyber Jewish. So these themes of conspiratorial Jew hatred are really what animates this anti-Semitism in an Islamic society like Iran, and I would argue in Islamic societies across the world.
Andrew, when you listen and watch the daily news with this administration and I'll call it a joke, of Secretary of State John Kerry trying to negotiate with Iran, with your vast knowledge of what's going on and all the books and all the study that you've written on this country and the surrounding area, you must be appalled at how we're capitulating to what their wants are as far as Iran, and we're not doing anything to make them back up and basically play by the rules.
Absolutely. It's really disturbing, but I have to tell you, I've become increasingly disgusted in a bipartisan way. I don't think, with rare shining light exceptions, I don't think the Republicans are offering an alternative to this. I don't think Bush 2 did very well by Iran. He specifically blocked what apparently was a desire by then Israeli Prime Minister Olmert after they had taken out the Syrian facilities. There was a Syrian nuclear facility that was taken out in 2007. Bush 2 refused to give Olmert and the Israeli Air Force flyover rights to go after the then-known Iranian facilities, arguing that might have undone the great gains of the surge, which of course have disappeared altogether. But to his credit, however, though, Bush 2 did not sit down with this jihadist administration in Iran and literally enshrine the so-called legitimacy of their right to enrich uranium. So you can always take a bad matter and make it worse. But I really think there's such a profound failure to understand doctrinal and historical Islam, both Shiite and Sunni, that's at the root of a lot of the problems we're experiencing. And recall, we had a lot of sexlessness in dealing with communism for a long period of time until we had a clear leader like Reagan who declared the Soviet Union to be an evil empire. And we just don't seem to have that moral clarity, and I don't really see it on the horizon.
When you look at the situation right now in the news with Obama pushing for a nuclear deal, so to speak, with Iran, and you look at the fears and the concerns of the Israeli government with Netanyahu, where are we at right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being almost on the verge of nuclear holocaust, 1 being not so bad, where are we right now in the world situation with the Middle East and Iran basically telling everybody what they're going to do?
Well, it's really hard to express any certainty about this. All I can tell you is that at minimum, this kind of capitulation is going to trigger a terrible arms race in the region. It's interesting. Israel has had a nuclear capability, unspoken or spoken for many years now, and it never triggered a nuclear arms race, certainly amongst its immediate neighbors. It's only when Iran has gotten on the cusp of getting nuclear weapons that you hear, even Israel's enemies are Sunni enemies, but they're also enemies of Iran. Now they're all clamoring, for nuclear weapons. So at minimum, you're going to trigger, a local arms race in an area of the world where that's the last thing that they need, given all the active wars going on there. And then you also have to look at how. Even if Iran continues just to threaten its use of nuclear weapons, but if it actually has them, it could allow its jihadist proxies to operate, with even more impunity, to be less concerned about triggering missile attacks and tunnel attacks and everything else, because they have the backing and the threat of this nuclear weapons capability by their patrons over there in Iran. So that's another form of stability. But, the bottom line for Israel has to be that even the so-called more moderate leaders of Iran's recent past over the last 36 years have just very calmly expressed the idea that, Israel's a tiny country, it doesn't have much strategic depth. Like Rafsanjani said, he was basically arguing that there could be a nuclear exchange between Iran and Israel, except Israel would disappear altogether, and that would be worth it, even if they suffered great casualties in Iran, because it would benefit the global Muslim community. I mean, when you have supposedly moderate leaders with that kind of rhetoric, you just can't allow that country in particular to have nuclear weapons. From an Israeli perspective, and I would hope, and I see it to some extent from the American perspective.
Do you see the entirety of the Middle East very afraid of Iran to the point where if they do develop a nuclear weapon, it will cause an arms race unprecedented any other time in the world's history, where Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all these other countries will do anything they can to get nuclear weapons to combat Iran? Do you see that as kind of an escalating factor in that portion of the world?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Absolutely. Again, the idea that Israel never triggered such an arms race, but Iran apparently is. It's already happening. I mean, you're seeing Saudi Arabia make overtures to Pakistan. Egypt is working on supposedly nuclear power now with the Russians. Absolutely, I think it's already happening. I mean, because it's it really has the aura of inevitability now that Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon, given how everything's going and given how feckless these negotiations are. I think whether the negotiations continue or not, Iran's going to pursue nuclear weapons unless, we have the moral clarity to just destroy their nuclear infrastructure, which, by the way, could be done in about an evening. This is the tragedy of all this stuff. That there's absolutely no need to sit around and wait for this. And there was no need for Bush to dither, and there's certainly no need for Obama to engage in negotiations which give Iran any sort of legitimacy to its uranium enrichment program. This should be handled as a tactical military strike. They've been at war with us for 36 years. You know, I really bristle when I hear, whether it's Democrats in particular or Republicans, saying, when Senator Cotton mentions, a tactical military strike, that's terrible warmongering. Excuse me, they've been at war with us for 36 years. They still consider themselves to be actively at war with us if you simply read their routine pronouncements. They've killed a lot of Americans. I really get annoyed when I hear that sort of rhetoric.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Andrew. Are you surprised at all as to this administration, especially Obama, in the very cold shoulder treatment that he's given and this administration has given to Israel and Netanyahu? Has that surprised you at all?
Not in the least. I think it was very predictable. Obama is not a supporter of Israel. He in his worldview, they're part of this colonial enterprise, this Western enterprise that he doesn't like. It's very consistent with his ideology. In his case, you also throw in his nominal, Muslim upbringing as a child. So at minimum, he has very strong sympathies towards the Muslim world. He still has Muslim family, but I think more so it's the very hard left, even communist rearing that he had. Franklin Marshall Davis was a communist. He was a staunch communist, and Obama has identified him repeatedly as one of his main mentors. That sort of worldview is anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Western, and so why should he have any sympathy for Israel, which is just a vestige of the imperialist, colonial West?
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question, and I'm going to ask the caller real fast. I'm almost out of time. Go, caller, please.
Yes, I hope I'm not covering older ground here that you've already covered today, but I apologize if so. But when Obama declassified the information about whether or not Israel had nuclear weapons, I thought he was truly trying to usher in Armageddon, and I'll hang up.
Andrew, respond to that if you would, please.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it clearly. Was it when he classified or declassified what?
Declassified Israel's nuclear weapons program.
Oh, okay. You know what? I guess I don't react so strongly to that one way or the other because it was first of all, the intelligence information is very old.
Right.
So I don't know how, really actively useful it is in terms of, undermining such a program, in any concrete way. But beyond that, I mean, it's just been known for many years that Israel has some form of nuclear arsenal. It's proven to the world that it's a defensive arsenal and it doesn't threaten people with it. It's there as a deterrent. So I don't make too much of that. I think it was inappropriate and unnecessary, particularly at this time. But I don't think it was all that damaging.
All right. Now, Andrew, real fast, where can they obtain the book? Is it at major bookstores? It's a must-read, Iran's Final Solution for Israel. Where can they obtain a copy?
It's really, as far as I can gather, it's really only available via Amazon. You can you can get it. It's got an ebook version that you can get as a quick download. The updated version is only available in paperback, and best way, fastest way is just to go to Amazon.
All right. Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the program this morning. Author Andrew Bostom with a book called Iran's Final Solution for Israel. Absolutely, it's a riveting book. I've got just a little bit left to read in, and I've learned a lot. Andrew, please come back in the future. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks very much for having me again. Take care.
Thank you, sir. And to the caller that was waiting, I'm sorry, I just flat ran out of time. I apologize. I've got to get these commercial words in real quick. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. And hundreds and hundreds of spring play clothes are in at A Child's World. And they've got all the baby material, and they've got all the baby outfits, everything. And gift wrapping is always free. And they've got for the boys all the white short sleeve shirts, and they've got all the games and the puzzles, everything for the family right there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, too, also sponsoring Cassia County School Days, Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. Over 100 procedures are performed every month, saving Magic Valley residents hundreds of dollars. Whether it's eye surgery, colonoscopies, tonsils, knee surgery, whatever, you be sure and give them a call, and they can help you at Ambulatory Surgery Center. 677-8888. 677-8888. And the location, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, Ambulatory Surgery Center. Thank you very much. Hey, we're going to take a quick break in just a moment and send it back over to our main studios. But before we do, I want to remind you, too, I'm losing my voice this morning. I apologize. Excuse me. Steve-O's, 290 South and 600 West of Heyburn. They are celebrating this week their 20th anniversary, and they just want to say thank you to the community for all the support, all the wonderful people that have come in and enjoyed all the menu items, and they've got the friendliest servers and dedicated staff around, and they say thank you very much. Come on in, have your favorite lunch or dinner at a place that you've known as the best for over 20 years. Steve-O's, 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn. You stop in and see them today. We're going to send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much and welcome back. And we're a real quick reminder, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call Ramsey's at 678-0459. They can save you money. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, selling warm winters and cool summers. Also, real fast, I want to remind you about our dear friends, and they are with Streamline Precision. You'd better believe it. They can build anything for you. Right now, they're building the brand new Funk Dairy straight south of us over here in Murtaugh. And Streamline Precision is located at 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. Don't forget Tim Vaughn. Give him a call, 431-7314, for estimates on what you need built. They're putting up a lot of on-the-farm grain bin storage. They're authorized dealer in Sioux Cup, Chief Balin, and Nucor buildings. And as I stated this morning already many times, they have the equipment to handle your dirt hauling needs with the big side dump trucks, and they also have the big rigs for hauling your farm equipment from point A to point B. Get the job done for you. They are excellent. Give them a call, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. The professionals building for you. Right now, I want to remind you, too, that on Thursdays we have a program called Gardening for Idiots, named after me, quite frankly. I'm not a very good gardener. And that program is brought to you by Vicky's Country Garden. I'm learning. She's located at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Don't forget, on Thursdays at 10:30, Vicky's Country Garden, and answering all your gardening question needs. Thank you, Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden. Let's go to the phone lines right now. And we have with us a lovely lady that when I read the headline of this particular story, I was absolutely shocked. Barbara Boland, good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I read the headline of this news story, and it was as follows: pregnant 14-year-old girls recruited for Nazi-like late-term abortion bleeding study. And I got to admit, I stopped dead in my tracks, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. Please take it from there and explain what we're talking about this morning.
All right. So basically, the University of Hawaii is looking for women and girls, for anyone from age 14 to the age of 50, to participate in a study that's testing to see what happens if the drug oxytocin is administered after a late-term abortion, or, on the other hand, is not administered. And what they will test is to see whether how much the girls or women bleed. And the unbelievable part, well, there's a few parts that are unbelievable about this, but probably the most unbelievable part is that someone who's 14 can sign to participate in a clinical trial when, if this was about anything other than abortion, that would never be allowed. But because a 14-year-old is allowed to agree to a late-term abortion without her parents' approval, she can also participate in this study.
I am absolutely appalled. I mean, where are the parents? Where is the outrage? What is going on in this country that girls 14 years of age, pregnant girls, and that's appalling enough, but to think that they can sign up without their parents' approval on this program, I got to admit, you knocked me right back on my hip pockets. I can't believe this.
Yeah, I personally couldn't believe it when I read it either. It does go to the point that these abortions are not actually as safe as people try to say, because here they are actually testing to see, how much they bleed. There's actually a risk of bleeding out completely if the drug is not administered, and this test would see, what happens if they don't administer the medicine. And a 14-year-old couldn't possibly understand the implications of agreeing to something like that. But that's what happens, I guess, when you're allowing a 14-year-old to agree to something like a late-term abortion as well.
Barbara, what about the parents? Let's bring them into this story a little bit. If these 14-year-old girls are signing up for this study and the parents aren't aware of it, what then? I mean, are the parents able, if all of a sudden they're educated and know that their daughter is doing this, can they put the kibosh on this and step in and say, no, you're not, and absolutely stop her participation? What are the laws? What are the ramifications on this?
I don't know what the laws are with regards to this. I tried to find out because to me, one of the biggest issues here is how is a study that has human, guinea pigs, basically, how could this have been approved or signed off on? But it doesn't appear there's any kind of federal regulatory process. There's just medical boards that look these things over, but apparently none of them have an issue with this. And as far as what parents can do, I really don't know. I think it probably depends on the state. This particular thing is being done in Hawaii. But I know that these young girls are allowed to agree to have the abortion, so without their parents knowing.
Now, this University of Hawaii, are they sanctioning the study, and would they be liable for lawsuits? Is there a doctor on hand? Are these girls being observed? Are they being checked? Are they being cared for? I mean, my goodness sakes, they're not just lab rats like you suggested they are in this article, are they?
Well, there's two doctors running this study. As much as that says about these doctors, they're actually conducting this, and they're going to be monitoring or observing what happens when they don't administer the medication, and then what happens when they do. I don't know. One of the doctors that I interviewed, who is not involved in the study, raised the concern that a teenage girl who, gets an abortion, participates in the study, and goes home may not even realize the risk, or if they started to believe, what would happen then. Is there, it doesn't sound as if there's any sort of monitoring after they've left. And they'd still be at risk for bleeding at that point, too.
Have we gone this far in the decadence hole in the world that parents across the United States, and for that matter, again, the world, aren't absolutely outraged that 14-year-olds would be used like guinea pigs?
I guess to some extent it seems like the logical extension of if you're okay with a 14-year-old signing off on an abortion, a late-term abortion in particular, which is actually a dangerous surgery. You're okay with them doing that without their parents' approval. I guess it's only a short step from there to, signing to be in the medical study, testing what happens when you're getting that abortion.
Now, there was a sentence that was written in another story that I have also, and they said that this is just another way to invent new grisly ways to kill babies and exploit women. How would you respond to that sentence?
Well, I certainly think that anyone who is this young, I don't think there's any way that someone could argue that they understand the consequences of what they are doing. And were this even just a study testing, asthma medication or depression medication, you would always need the parents' approval to participate in the study. This study is really unbelievable that anyone would think this was okay, or that any ethicist signed off on this, that there's doctors who are administering the study.
Is there anything that people can do or will do or possibly might do that could stop this kind of thing from happening? I mean, I find this appalling that 14-year-olds can sign a right of consensus to be a part of something like this, and the parents are left out in the cold. I got to admit, this one's really got me confused.
I'm sure that people could complain to the university. And these universities receive, the study is actually being conducted at the University of Hawaii, but it's also part of the people who are participating in it, between them, a family planning group, the University of Washington. So I think that one way to possibly do something would be to contact them and to complain, because this is definitely unethical. I mean, I think it would be hard to find people who are okay with this.
Now, Barbara, I can tell in the background that you sound like you're a mother, and from a mother's perspective, this whole situation and story must be absolutely appalling to you. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I'm pretty much just as shocked as anyone else is. But, again, it's the fact that we have accepted as a society that a 14-year-old can get an abortion on her own, or any teenager for that matter. I think, that it's not that far of a leap from there, unfortunately.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I certainly want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and talking about this and alerting our attention to this absolutely heinous study that's being put on by the University of Hawaii. I'm going to do some research on my own on this program as a follow-up. But Barbara Boland, thank you so much for being on our program this morning, and God's blessings to you, and keep up the good work of informing us as to some of these really dastardly deeds that are being performed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you much. 14 years of age and signing consent forms for studies like they're human lab rats. This is absolutely unreal. I can't believe it. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I tell you what, on this program, with as much as we're exposed to every day in doing the study for different stories to put on the air, it's honestly really hardening my hide, if you will, because you just hear stories that you just want to sit down and cry, that we could be falling into a cesspool like we are today, not only here in this country, but around the world. There's no morality anymore. There's no human value. And you know what? I'm just going to come right out and say it. If you don't like it, that's not my worry. We've gone against God. And for some strange reason, people today think that they are the higher authority, think that they are the supreme knowledgeable ones, that anyone that believes in God or the biblical prophecy, well, they're a little bit backwards. That's something from the old days. That's old school. Well, looking at stories like this where 14-year-old pregnant girls are being used as lab rats for study, and the parents don't even know or are not involved, I guess I'll stay with the old days. Time for the weather forecast, and it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats. They sell taste one bite at a time. They're located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. Be sure and check out that $300 tax return meat package. Have you heard about that? Listen, beef, like patties and rump roasts and New York steaks and pork with the pork chops and the brats and the bacon. Caller, don't you dare hang up. I'll be right there. Chicken, all kinds of goodies, and cheese. All of this from Scarrows Meats on that $300 tax return meat package. Oh, it is good. Here quickly is Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is down at the ranch. Stunner brand spanking new week of you, me, and sunny weather all the way to Thursday. How about that? Temperatures lows make that upper 60s, low 70s. No major storms so far. We have rain in the forecast on Thursday. That's Thursday. So enjoy the Monday. Enjoy the English. Gentlemen, what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew selling taste one bite at a time. 331 North Road, Jerome. 324-7657. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dub. Hey, it's ironic to me how people, if they would take the time to read the Bible, and personally I myself haven't read it completely, it is a history book. It's a book of history, not just necessarily Christianity, but history of the world throughout the ages. And those that take the time and read it, and are scholars on it, unlike myself, would notice that those who go against God and Christianity fail. Their cities are destroyed, they're plundered, they're ruined, and they have to start all over.
Well,
for this to happen now, when we know what we know, when all we got to do is simply open a book and open our hearts and listen, our world's going to hell.
Well, you said it's a history book, but it's a lot more than that. It's a day planner. It's a better day planner to meet and greet and treat your fellow man in a much better fashion, and also to have belief in eternity with our Lord Jesus Christ, and to plan for eternity. And I just absolutely do not understand how people can take the Bible and biblical promise, and they can trash it and say, well, that's old school. We don't need that anymore. We're the modern thinking. We're the progressives. And they are the same kind of people that will take 14-year-old pregnant girls and use them as lab rats for a study, and nobody gets up in arms.
It's sickening, heartbreaking. There's no words that I can come with to express the feeling that I have when I hear about that kind of cruelty.
Our society, and you're younger than I am, but our society, in simple terms, I think is just absolutely going right down the drain. We're not standing up for what's right. We're not standing up for the moral values. We sit back and go, oh, gee, that's too bad. I hope somebody does something about it. And then things are just going away that are values to our society that have made this country great for over 250 years. What's happening here? We got to stand up and do something about it.
I look at it as the last 250 years or so, it wasn't just get along, everybody just get along. It was the respect for one another.
Yeah.
And respect for humanity. And it's like you're saying, as time has gone on and more people put their views into it, it seems like Satan's got a hold of. He's just dragging everybody every which way but the right way.
I'll give you an example. There is more said and done, and it was proven in the paper yesterday, the Sunday paper. There is more said and done for the absolute phoniness of Earth Day on Wednesday and treating Earth like it's some sort of a god. Earth Day, oh my, we've got to do something, to save the planet. You know what? The best thing we can do to save the planet is just get down on our hands and knees and say, God, we're sorry, and we'll try to do the best we can. But this Earth Day, this Gaia, this worshiping of the environment, that is causing as much or more of the problem that's going on in this country. I, for one, on Wednesday, am going to denigrate Earth Day. I'm going to do all I can to play it down. I don't believe in it.
Well, I don't believe in it either.
All right, sir.
The world and with at peace. So I'll let you go, Zeb.
Thank you. Anyway. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for your call. Calls welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was reading in the paper yesterday, people like Robert Redford and Pierce Brosnan that played 007, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Angie Harmon, all these people, they've got such special works for Earth Day. Baloney. It's all baloney. You know what? We are as much environmentalists as they are. We take care and we thank God for all the talents and availabilities of all the different things that have been given to us on this earth. They're here for us to use, not abuse. We're not supposed to go back and live in caves and, like I've said many times, burn buffalo dung to keep warm. But I listen to these people that have used their professional status as actors, singers, whatever, to tell us how we should live less. And then they jump in their great big Learjets and travel all over the country to go to different meetings with the likes of Al Gore. Go figure. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on the landline. I would love to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, let me talk a little bit, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat this morning, about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The very best. Now, you know that they have the very best in brake service. You know they have the very best in front-end alignments, shocks and struts, batteries. You know they have the very best in tires. Well, they're having a big spring tire sale going on right now. For your cars, they've got the Ultra Z900 on sale, all-season design, and up to an 80,000-mile warranty, depending on the size of the tire. And then for your pickups, tires like your Open Country AT2, outstanding traction, long-lasting tread on sale. They've got the best tire value promise in the industry and very convenient credit for tires and services. All you have to do is stop in and they will take care of you. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Elaine and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I still have a couple of minutes. Tomorrow on the program, going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to having Senator Dean Cameron come on the show, and we're going to talk about kind of an update as to what's going with the past legislative session, some of the repercussions and ramifications of what they voted for and or against. And then, of course, we're going to have Dr. History on. This is where it's going to get really interesting tomorrow, too. Normally, Dr. History is on our program for only about 30 minutes. Well, tomorrow, due to the fact that he just got back from 2 weeks in China, I thought we couldn't do that justice in about a 30-minute program. So we're going to donate the whole hour from 10:06 until 11 for Dr. History. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, you asked a question earlier about when all of this hatred began.
It goes back so far you and I can't even find it without going back in the Old Testament. You know, Abraham fathered Ishmael.
Okay.
That's where all of this mess began.
You know, but that doesn't give us an excuse to keep on with the stupidity and the hatred, does it?
Oh, I'm totally in agreement with you. It's interesting how the hatred has been there, and it seems to continue to grow. And I'm with you. We don't say enough, don't do enough in standing up for what we believe in.
Now, I've said this.
So we try.
I've said this on my program many times, and I want to run this by you again. I think that all of us, and I've made sure I've made it a point to my personal minister and leader of my church, that I let them know where I stand, and I expect them to speak out from the pulpit. And I think all of us should tell church leaders, pastors, ministers, whomever, how upset we are as to what's going on, not only in our community but worldwide, because it's got to start someplace. And I think honestly the church is one great place to start a movement.
Well, that's where this one's going to have to start, because when you got churches openly accepting same-sex marriage, whatever you want to call it, well, you speak about that regularly on your program, and I'm of the same volition.
All right, sir. Well, you are very much appreciated. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you very much. We're going to wrap things up and put it back in the box for today, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning at 8:06, Zeb at the Ranch, right here on KBAR 1230, and streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. And we'll be here from 8 to 11 tomorrow, the way things were, the way things ought to be. You have a good day.